Hey, how's it going? It's Jesse here from the REI Conversion Podcast. I've got a special guest here today. His name is Josh. We're going to be talking all about photography for land. He is an expert when it comes to real estate photography. In fact, he's done a lot of my properties as well. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we even get started, I want to share with you a really cool new thing that we just recently launched within REI Pebble. Now, if you don't know what REI Pebble it is a system to help you systemize and simplify your land investing. Now, before you fast forward this, let me share with you what we just launched here, and a lot of our users are taking full advantage of. We just launched a new feature that allows you to send one mailer to one owner who owns multiple properties. This saves you time from having to dedupe or remove duplicates on your list. Not only that, but makes it super incentivizing for that seller to work with you, because now you are offering to purchase all their properties. Although they may not want to sell you all their properties, you're going to be able to do that in one letter. You're going to be able to list their properties out. Not only that, you're going to be able to also total up their offers, total up their ranged offers. All of that good stuff is handled within Pebble itself. So if you're interested to learn more about REI Pebble, how it's helping all of our land investors scale, systemize, and save time to grow their business and really set a foundation for their land investing business, head over to reiconversion.com/pebble. You can hit book a demo with me. It is with me personally. I will go through with you some of the features, see if this is even a good fit, and see how it can actually help you with your business. Nonetheless, let's jump right into the show here with Josh. I'm hoping you're going to get tons out of this, and hopefully you can level up your photography game for your land investing. Cheers. Hey, how's it going? My name is Jesse here of the REI Conversion Podcast. I've got a guest with me today. His name is Josh over from Fotovan with an F. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming onto this show. So I'm going to just jump right into it. I got introduced to you through my co-founding partner, Kevin, who helps me operate and build out REI Conversion. But he's the one that started using Fotovan for his properties, and then I started using you as well. Before we dive any further into questions about, and then that's what this whole episode is going to be about. Like, let's talk about photos and whatnot. I know you have a podcast yourself that you really talk about real estate photos. So you're really the specialist here that we're going to get to chat with. But can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and how you got started with Fotovan?
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so we got our start in 2014. And at that time, professional photography really was not the industry standard. And we saw there was a huge need for it in our market. And we just started taking pictures of houses. And a lot of the brokers we were working with, they got results, right away. We're talking about houses that were selling next day, sight unseen, all cash offers. And really just huge game changer when it came to the power of visual content. Well, since then, fast forward 7 or 8 years, we've seen that it's become the industry standard. And not only photos, but videos, 3D tours, virtual staging, floor plans, all that content is helping houses perform online. And that's what we specialize in.
Awesome. So how did you get started into photography for real estate?
Well, probably so many entrepreneurs started out by reading the books, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Think and Grow Rich. And I knew that I wanted to serve real estate somehow. And so I actually started out in wholesale real estate. And I found guys that were already out there crushing it in the industry. And my role was to be the content creator, because I did have some background in photography. And I started capturing our listings. And that's when we saw that, outside of just wholesale real estate, maybe the business of real estate photography itself is what's needed right now in the market. And I think we showed up at the right time and in the right place, because that part of the business took off. And so we shifted our efforts to capturing properties. And that's what we've been doing ever since.
That's awesome. So obviously, my listener and my following is strictly land investors. Some of them are coming from the house side of things and moving into land. And you obviously, you've taken your team or yourself has taken photos for us on our properties. I'd love to know, what are like if somebody was going to go out and take some photos themselves of their own vacant land property, what would you say are the top three things? And this is not a house, this is not a structure.
Mhm.
What would you say are the top three things that they should be looking out for taking photos of when it comes to their land?
Well, I think first and foremost, the most important thing is the cover photo. So you have to have a good, compelling cover photo. Now, I know for vacant land, that can be a challenge because most of the time it's just a picture of dirt, right? So, what we've seen for a lot of the vacant land that we've captured, the ones that are performing well online, is a very good, compelling image, oftentimes that has some sort of graphical overlay. So, if it's just a ranch that looking at it from the sky, you'd maybe just see some rolling hills and maybe a few structures. A good way that we can convey this property is if we outline the property boundaries and maybe had some graphics on that thumbnail image. Because remember, when people are searching for these properties online, they're waiting for something to jump out at them. And if they just see a whole list of land on these websites and they're scrolling through it and they all look the same, we really want to grab their attention with that cover photo. The second thing is
What do you mean
quantity.
by a cover photo? Can you sort of explain to the folks listening?
So the cover photo, when it comes to real estate and advertising, and honestly with anything, even products, like when you get on Amazon and you start scrolling through products, the cover photo is that one image that represents the product as a whole. So when you're looking at real estate, be it commercial properties, residential houses, or land, that first image that represents the entire listing, that thumbnail image, that's the cover
Yeah.
photo. And it's usually the
So
first one
you're
in the set.
you're saying a good cover photo for land. I'm assuming if it's a boring piece of land, there's nothing too scenic on there, that we should do an image with some sort of a graphical overlay. So if it's an aerial shot of it or
Mhm.
something, maybe from top down with the parcel outline, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what if you do have something that is pretty scenic? You got some trees on there, and if
Mhm.
you can position, got mountains in the background or a little bit of a body of water. Is that something that you would qualify
Definitely.
as
Yeah.
probably would perform better?
Yeah. And if it is scenic and time of day really does matter when we're capturing our
Hmm.
photos. So
So let me ask you that. What
sure.
time? And I remember this when I was scheduling your photographers to go out to my property. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I didn't think about the time of day, and started looking at the specific day. I started looking at the weather, if there was an overcast, if it was sunny. I hear all the time there are certain, what do you call it, the golden hour, and then
Mhm.
an overcast can have more even lighting. What do you guys suggest when it comes to outdoor photos?
So if we had uh, your typical vacant land and we wanted to come out and capture it and really show it off well, honestly, I'd recommend the twilight, the golden hour for that cover photo. Now, the thing about sunset is there's only one sunset in a day, and we're really limited on that best lighting situation. So we may only get
Right.
like 3 to 5 incredible photos showing off the property at just that right time. But that's how we want to front load that photo set, is to show it off with those golden hour images. And if your photographer is good, or maybe if you're working with a team of editors, there are some tricks that we can do to make an image that really pops. So in our market, for
Right.
example, we have really beautiful skies here in the Southwest, and our photographers, we've actually have built out a library of New Mexico skies. So we have every different color imaginable, and sometimes we'll come out to a property, with land, your photographers might have to travel, and maybe it's a little bit harder to reschedule if it's a cloudy day, or maybe if the sky is just gloomy. But if they can do a sky replacement where they digitally replace the sky
Mm.
on some of those cover images, then that could still give you a rock solid um, photo set, even if it's not the best, most ideal
I,
lighting conditions.
I'm gonna get you to hold off on some post production stuff for
Sure.
photos, but coming back to the golden hour, what is that? Why is that a good time to take photos?
Well, that's when we capture in direct sunlight. Sometimes it's the images are less dramatic, and I think it comes down to the conditioning of spending time looking at photos. most everybody's used to what Google Maps looks like and
Right.
what your typical aerial photos look like. And there is a lot less photos out there of properties that are shot close to sunset. And when I mean dramatic, I'm talking about some bright highlights and dark shadows. And we see that at sunset when the sun is low, especially if there's terrain on the property, or if there's trees and structures. We get those
Right.
long shadows. And then, of course, that golden light just makes the images look awesome.
That's awesome. So, a couple tips you gave us. It was make sure you have a good cover image, the golden hour, sort of dramatic photos. What would you say is the third one, if there is even a top three?
I would say that would be the quantity. So when there's a big piece of land, I think the tendency for a lot of people is just to capture a ton of photos, to go out and try to get pictures of everything. But what
Yeah.
ends up happening is we see buyers that will discover a listing and they start scrolling through the imagery. And if there's 50, 60, 70 photos, it starts to
So
get
yes.
repetitive and people get bored and they want to move on. So there's a balance to
I love
find,
that.
to show off the most important things, but to leave a little bit of mystery. So I'm all about quality over quantity. And if you have less photos, that could be better. That could get the phone ringing. People want to see more, and too many photos could just turn people away.
I could totally see that. That's such a great point that you bring up. And over at RA Conversion, we manage a lot of websites for land investors, and we do see that some people with 20 plus photos. And when I list property, I don't know if this is the sweet number or not, but I typically have somewhere from 4 to 8 photos at most. What would you say? I feel like 8 is even on the pushing it side, but
Hmm.
I typically around that 4 to 6 range. But what would you say is a good number of photos?
For land, I
Yeah.
think definitely don't want to go over 10. If you're averaging 4 to 8, I think that's perfect. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And what
Mhm.
you said there, I think that is very true. Where you're leaving room for someone to become bored. Not only that, you're leaving for more room for somebody to dislike something about that property, and that can
Mhm.
sort of amplify in their own head. That is
Yeah.
an awesome tip I'd never even thought of. And for those of you who are listening as well, and Josh, you may want to chime in on this, but we get a lot of people who upload photos that are from directly from the photographer.
Mhm.
And you can imagine the file size of those being horrendously huge.
Mhm.
Um, so make sure you keep your file sizes small. You want load times to be quick. You don't want it to be flooding your screen. And you definitely don't want Google to start punishing you because of large images. Um,
Yeah.
so web ready images, I'm assuming, is that something you guys provide as well?
Yeah. As far as the editing service, is that what you're asking?
Yes. Or,
Yes.
or just when somebody gets photos from you guys.
Oh, yeah. So there definitely is a sweet spot where you want to have the right size. Now,
Yep.
I know it's still probably less popular these days, but there are still people out there who want to print their images and also publish online. Well, there's a big
Yep.
difference in the image size. If we're going to print, the file sizes are going to be pretty big. You're looking at photos that might be 10, 15, or 20 megabytes a piece.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, clarify that with your photographer and how are
Yeah.
these images going to be used? And you definitely want to specify, are these going to be web ready? And all that
Yes.
means is the photos are not going to be small. They're still going to look really good on a digital
Yep.
display. But yeah,
Yep.
like you were saying, if they are lean, the websites, they're going to load faster, and it's just going to help your potential buyers out because they'll be able to just
Yep.
move through your images.
Totally. Um, Josh, I want to know what are some of the more common mistakes you see? You being in the industry for a while, you've seen other photos. What would you say are some of the more common mistakes? If you can even relay that back to specifically for land investors and their photos, can you give me like 3 sort of more common mistakes that people need to watch out for when it comes to their land photos?
Probably the number one common mistake when it comes to land is not using a drone because
Mm,
usually land it's going to be a large area that we need to show off, and if somebody's just going to show up with a camera and they're going to be at ground level, it's really hard to get perspective. And
right.
so we're still seeing that surprisingly today. Is I mean, you can go to Walmart, walk to Walmart and pick up a drone and get some amazing imagery, but if you're going to be having this hired out professionally, look for somebody that is a drone operator. And not only that, but they're licensed. You want to hire somebody that has the Part 107 drone license, and that allows them to legally fly on your property. So make sure to keep an eye out for that.
Got you. Now, with drone pictures, would you suggest to capture drone video as well, since it's already up there?
Right now, video is performing really well. Most people online are, or should I say that, maybe it's the Google algorithms or the social media, video is being
Yeah.
rewarded well. And if
Yeah.
your photographer's out there capturing stills, they definitely ought to be capturing video clips as well. And if maybe they don't specialize in editing the footage, just ask for them to get some video clips. And there are ways where we can easily find some editors online that can stitch it together and make a good,
Yeah.
compelling 30 to 60-second video, something that can be used for all your advertising channels. And it can be used on Instagram, on TikTok, YouTube. And the more types of content we can get out there, the more traffic it's going to generate for us.
I know you're enjoying the show episode so far, but I wanted to let you know that if you are looking to build or scale a serious land business, perhaps a 6-figure second income or eventually a 7-figure land investing empire, Travis King's company, Land Investing Mastery, has the most current and innovative education in the space. Travis goes beyond the traditional microflip that you might be familiar with and shows you how to 10x your deal size and execute on strategies like subdividing, portfolio takedowns, land sniping. We're talking 6-figure per flip strategies. If you're getting your education from someone who isn't actively investing, you're more than likely going to hit some plateaus as you try to scale. If you want to learn how to avoid the saturated red ocean markets, skip over the small stuff, and learn how to become a boss land investor, then Travis is your guy. Travis has completed nearly 1,000 coaching calls in the last 2 years that I've known him, and he has his pulse on the market. He will tell you, though, Land Investing Mastery is not a factory. They're a boutique agency built on transformational, life-changing results. You see, I'm in a really unique position, and I really mean what I've just said above. In fact, I get to speak to a lot of investors from all sorts of different education, training, coaching background out there, and I get a very good view of things from all the one-on-one demo calls that I've done. Now, you may want some social proof. Head over to pebblerei.com/Travis and check out Travis's wall of love on his testimonial page. And while you're there, you can also learn more about Travis's training programs and his exclusive mastermind. So simply head over to www.pebblerei.com/Travis for more information. Now, you just poked on something I want to quickly ask about, because you don't just deal with photos, you really deal with content for real estate. Some of the social media platforms that people are doing marketing on are when I first got started weren't really popular. Now, you just mentioned a few of them. What are those platforms you're seeing a lot of people sort of hovering and posting up their video content or picture content on when it comes to marketing, aside from the typical places like their website or the MLS?
Yeah. So surprisingly, TikTok right now is
You heard
growing
it.
like crazy. And I didn't want to admit it for the longest time because
Yeah.
I thought it was just a bunch of nerdy 20-year-olds posting funny videos. But I've been spending some time on there, and I have
Yeah.
found some serious real estate businesses that are posting
Yes.
valuable content.
Yeah.
So that's probably the
You heard
leading
it
one.
now.
Mhm.
This is, if you've been listening to the REI Conversion podcast, this is now the third time we've heard about TikTok specifically for land. And Josh doesn't only specialize in land, but he specializes in real estate in general. TikTok has been mentioned, I would say, on 3 different occasions now in the last couple months on this show. So
Mhm.
get on it if you're not on it, and make sure you follow us, REI Conversion, on there.
Yep.
Do you guys have a TikTok, channel or account as well?
Nope. At this point, we're serving the local Albuquerque market, and
Gotcha.
we have a very specialized business with working with the top producers here. So nearly every top producer here in Albuquerque is working with Fotovan. So if you're not in Albuquerque and you try to go to fotovan.com, sorry guys, we're local to this market, but there is a way that we can help. If you're looking to capture your own content, and it works great for land as well, the education arm of our business is capturetoclose.com. So if you go there,
Awesome.
you'll see my face right on the website. And twice a week, I go live with a webinar and I teach all the secrets of capturing and also how to build out your own internal editing team. And zero experience is required. If you've got a smartphone in your pocket,
Ooh, I love
then
it.
you have the one tool that's changing the world. So,
So capture2close.com, is that the one?
yep, that's the one.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure we include that in the show notes.
Great.
Okay, so common mistakes we talked about drone. Any other common mistakes that we're seeing out there?
Ooh, common mistakes. Probably you probably see this less in the world of land real estate, but we see this a lot in residential real estate is people that just want FaceTime on the camera. We have a lot of realtors that just love talking. I mean, special breed. They're probably the only people that have their faces on business cards, right? Well,
Yeah.
keep in mind, the one mistake that we see is that people are more focused on maybe the specific thing being sold, and maybe they lose sight of the fact that the content is actually for a potential buyer. So that's really the mindset
Mm,
we need to keep, because we have a lot of sellers who, and let's say, for example, on a land listing, you might have a small structure, or a cabin, or some sort of house or a feature that maybe the current owner is really excited about and they really want to show off. But remember, it's not about them, it's about a potential buyer. So that's the mindset that we
mm,
need to have, is to put on our buyer's hat and to
yeah.
actually show off and communicate as quickly as possible what they're going to be getting in the deal.
Got you. Got you. I love it. Josh, I want to talk. You were talking about it earlier. Post processing, editing photos. You talked about replacing a sky earlier. What can you dive into that a little bit quickly again, a little bit more?
So it is technical, but the thanks to the power of the internet, we can surround ourselves with a team of editors. So I want to give you guys a tip. If you are capturing this yourself, or if maybe you have a professional photographer that's getting photos and video of your listings, and maybe they're not fully able to create, you know, sky replacement and really vivid twilight images, or maybe a promotional video, I want you guys to take a look at upwork.com. That's upwork.com. And I've got a team of editors from around the world that I've been working with for years, that no matter what I throw at them, whether it's from our professional level camera equipment to capturing images with our smartphones, there are guys out there, a sea of overseas editors that can turn your content into pro level content for a really good price. So check that out. The actual process of replacing a sky, yeah, it's a technical thing and it's what editors do. But remember, in business, it's all about leverage. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to wear every
Right.
hat. It's
Yeah.
about who you can connect with and what sort of resources that you have in your back pocket.
Can you give us a quick tip on land photos? What's one of the easiest ways to spiffy up a photo easily if they don't want to dive too deep into photo editing? What would you say is one of the things that they should do?
Well, it depends, I guess, if you're capturing it yourself or
Yeah.
if your photographer is capturing it. One of the things that you always want to look for if you're hiring it out is to make sure that your photographers are capturing in RAW. And what that is, it's a larger file type, and it's definitely not the type of image that we're going to post online. But basically,
Yeah.
all it is, what makes it different from a JPEG, which maybe your phone's normally going to capture, is there's a lot more data depth. And so, for example, we bring that into editing software, whether it was you doing it or if you found an editor to do this for you, they would have a lot more control over the
Mm,
colors and the depth of the image. So,
yeah.
most professional images you see online, they were captured in RAW, they were edited, and then they were exported into one of those smaller formats. So, that's probably number
Mm.
one, is to make sure that you're capturing in the RAW format.
What about if you're going to capture photos yourself? What should they look out for?
I think having the right zoom. So if we're shooting zoomed in, uh, it's you're going to be showing off less content.
Right.
Right now,
Right.
the images that are performing best in real estate are the ones that are shot at wide angle. And
Mm,
how do you know if you're able to capture that? Well, just take a look at your smartphone. Next time you have a chance, go stand in the corner of the room, open your
Yeah.
smartphone camera and zoom all the way out. If you can see the adjacent walls to your left and right, then you have a wide angle camera, and that's great for shooting real estate, and especially for shooting vacant land, because the more that we can capture inside of a single image, the less photos we're going to need to communicate that property.
I love it. I love it. Some of the more common things I typically see, and I'm definitely not the specialist, just an observation. I do enjoy photography, but making sure your photos are, how would you say it? If it's crooked, they need to crop it to adjust that. What is that called?
So it's called level and straightening.
That's as easy as I
Yep.
see way too many off-level photos out there. So
The
make sure you
horizon's
do.
the horizon's straight across. It's a horizontal line,
Yes, that's
and
right. Yeah.
yeah, so it
This is one I
definitely,
commonly see.
yes.
And would you say, like, even adding a bit of contrast? I mean, that's probably an easy thing even phones can do. That just adds a little bit more saturation, a little bit more color,
Mhm.
a little bit more dramaticness to the photo. I don't know. I
Yep.
feel like that's an easy win for most people who don't even have any editing skills. Would you agree with that, Josh?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And boost up that contrast just a bit. And when
Yeah.
it comes to the colors, I would probably stay away from saturation. And if you do have the ability, adjust the vibrance. The vibrance
There you
is,
go.
yeah, that's going to draw out some more rich colors, and it's going to avoid some of those overpowering browns and oranges, because you
Mm.
don't want your images to look overcooked online.
That's right. That's right. I remember not too long ago, I read an article about a study they did on Facebook ads, how ads with I guess you would call it more vibrancy or more color tend to pop and catch a lot more attention. So do
Mhm.
keep that in mind, and for what it's
Yep.
worth. Nonetheless, Josh, I want to thank you for coming on to this episode, sharing some of these quick tips and your experiences. But before I close out on this, Josh, if they want to work with you like I work with you, obviously they can head over to fotovan.com, but you only
Yep.
service a specific area, correct?
We do, yes.
Yeah.
And it even if you're in the Southwest, so if you're somewhere near New Mexico, we
Yep.
do travel. So
Awesome.
don't hesitate. If you do need to hire this out and you want to work with the best, go to fotovan.com. That's fotovan.com. And when you hit
Yep.
book now and you select um, residential or commercial, I'd recommend hitting commercial if you're outside of land. And what that's going to do, that's just going to notify us that you're interested in maybe some out of the area photography. We can definitely do that. And then, like I had mentioned earlier, if you or maybe someone on your team wants to capture content yourself, we show you how to
Yes.
do that with just starting with your smartphone. And we also give you some gear recommendations too. And you can learn
I
that
love
at
it.
capturetoclose.com.
Capturetoclose.com, fotovan.com with Josh here. Josh, I want to thank you very much. I'll make sure to include this into the show notes, guys. Once again, Josh, thanks for coming on and sharing your photo expertise and knowledge with our audience here
Thank
over
you.
at REI Conversion. Cheers.
Cheers.